A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch-Up Entertainment Network. I'm your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me, as always, the thermal detonator thrown down a trash chute to my thermal detonator held in a dead man switch, it's John Campbell.
Look, this whole book is a thermal detonator, let's be honest, right?
Neo Star Wars is about to explode.
Because he's holding a copy of Shadows of the Empire. Oh boy, yeah. No, I take it back. This comic is actually just Han Solo making a clicking noise to say he has a thermal detonator in Solo.
Yes.
That's what this is. Here we are, folks. What a long journey it's been. I'm glad you've been with us these last 15 years. Some of these miniseries, man, we do these we talk about this. We do these sometimes. We're like, hey, let's take a little break, and then we end up in the slog of these sometimes.
And look, part of that is due to the quality of the comic, and part of that is due to the fact that we're shotgunning these, right? These are meant to be monthly books. If we were covering this one issue at a time over 6 months, maybe we'd feel different. I don't know.
The only problem there being is we would have no idea what happened last month. It would be out of my head so fast, right?
That's because we're broken people that have been shattered mentally by the internet, not because of this book and the story that happens within it.
Man, you're definitely right about that. I am horrible about, particularly comic books, because I do voraciously read them, as you do as well. There's a reason I can't do monthly comics anymore, regardless of cost and space saving issues. I wouldn't remember what happened.
Yeah.
Because I literally, back when I had a box, I would get like a stack of 20 books and just whip through them and then be like, what happened to Bab?
At the nadir of my crippling addiction to comic books, there was a time in which like the stack of to read that was next to my reading chair was so large because I would add previous issues of the books I had picked up to that stack so I could refresh myself. And then it became intimidating and I just shut down and went, no, it's too much.
You know, I actually become happy. I no longer know what's going on, and I really will wait till like someone's run is done and then just read somebody's run. And I'm happier. I no longer am up on what's going on at all when people ask me. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like 4 years back on Batman, but but I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, and look, I'm like 6 months behind on a lot of X-Men stuff as it's happening on Marvel Unlimited.
Well, I'm a couple years back on X-Men stuff because I missed one issue of X Factor and was out. The Krakoan stuff was so, and someday I'll sit down and read that whole saga in its entirety. But like that was the thing where if you weren't reading every one of those books, you're like, what?
Yeah, look, somewhere in the middle of X of Swords, you skipped an issue of X Factor, and it was all out the window.
Yeah, no, I literally had to I had to have an open thing consulting, like, what are we going? Where am I supposed to?
And
anyway.
we run into a little bit of that in modern Star Wars storytelling too, because like there was the whole War of the Bounty Hunters thing semi-recently, and the Crimson Empire crossover event just after that.
No one escapes comics events, man.
So, would you prefer a more streamlined version of that in the form of Shadows of the Empire, John? When it's all just one thing that's crammed into 6 issues.
Well, I hate that these are the options, man. This is the binary choice.
Because we are covering Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, issue number 6. It was originally released October of 1996, and it is the final issue of the Shadows of the Empire comic book series tie-in to the event that was Shadows of the Empire. What if we made a Star Wars, but there was no movie at the center of it?
All comes down to this.
All comes down to this. We have basically the same creative team as we had last issue, which again has been slightly modified from the rest of the series because we have John Wagner on writing. We had pencils by Killian Plunkett and John Nadeau. We have inks by P. Craig Russell, colors Carrie Porter, color separations by Heroic Age Colors, lettering by Dave Cooper, and a cover by the indomitable Hugh Fleming, who, I gotta say, I really love this last cover here.
Well, highlight of this, Hugh Fleming's covers, no surprise. Same thing on the Splinter of the Mind's Eye that we did. This one is awesome because it's just all the villains, and they look rad.
I'm just going to bring the cover up right now because, look at this cover. This is so cool.
He actually makes Xizor look pretty cool. Like, Xizor looks dumb in the comic, and he looks like a badass here.
Jix actually looks like a character I might care about.
Yeah. I believe it.
I don't know. Could be.
And Vader just in the clouds with the fucking lightsaber. Look at
Vader as like the presence behind everyone. It's good stuff.
Hand is that?
Whose hand is which one?
All the way over to the right.
Oh, Xizor's.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
He's got the big long nails.
Yeah, he blends in his shoulder. I see it now. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool ass cover, man. Hugh Fleming, MVP of this series by far.
By far. Okay.
Yep.
So
all right. So we've gotten the good stuff out of the way.
Got the good stuff out of the way. We got our credits. We got our timeline. All that good stuff. Let's jump to... I talked about at the end of last episode. This is a hard cut in the story so far.
I honestly had to look up, have I missed something? Was there a mistake? Did something get cut off in the digital transfer? Because...
Are we missing an issue?
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe it's not, but there has to be more. Oh, boy.
So at the end of last issue, we left off with Luke, Lando, R2 and 3PO on the Millennium Falcon, cruising in, trying to sneak onto Coruscant, the Imperial throne world.
And our cliffhanger, if it were, our very sudden thing was, oh no, above us is a Star Destroyer.
Correct.
And so, stupid me, I assumed this would begin with, how are they going to get away from that Star Destroyer? Like, what an idiot I am.
No. Let us now leap to, we are in a sewer. We are with Luke, Chewbacca, who's also here, Lando, Dash Rendar, who is just suddenly here.
Fan favorite.
And weird sewer worker.
Yeah. That we're supposed to be like, yeah, of course, right? This is the, literally the first line of the comic is, this is the subsewer for the entire sector. The branch that drains Xizor's castle is just ahead. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What is this mission we're on?
Okay, so, I said it at the end of last episode. Now I will bring you all up to speed about what we missed in the novel that was like, a good, I'm going to call it like 15% of the book was getting to here between where we were last issue. It's bad. It's bad.
Yes. Of course it is.
So yes, I realize for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see that there is a Dianoga, the weird trash compactor monster on this page. Ignore that for now. Focus on me.
Yeah. Guys, I know where your mind is. Ooh,
yeah. Also, I'm gonna also attempt to explain why Lando and Luke are sort of dressed in Imperial garb at this point. The Luke's costume actually really hasn't changed, but Lando is wearing Stormtrooper armor for some reason. Also explained in the book.
This could be 6 months later, for all I know.
Also, Dash Rendar is here. I'll try to explain that as well. I will fail, but I'll try.
Yeah. He knows this is a losing mission.
Yes. So, in the novel, they sneak onto Coruscant just like we saw at the end of last issue. That goes off without a hitch.
Okay.
They land, then Lando has to meet his underworld contacts, because of course he has underworld contacts.
Obviously.
To figure out where they can meet up with Chewbacca, because they know Chewbacca knows where Leia is. So, they meet up at this funky little garden shop in the underlayers of Coruscant, which actually, now that I mentioned that, something I didn't mention last issue was there was a whole scene where Leia goes and visits that same shop because the shop owner owes Leia a life debt. Anyway, all of that whole subplot is just stripped from this, which is fine.
Why not?
But it does explain how Lando and Luke meet up with Chewie.
Okay.
So, while they're there, they get attacked by a bunch of ne'er-do-wells because to move around freely on Coruscant, Luke and Lando basically hijacked some stormtroopers and stole their clothes.
Okay.
Luke lured them into a bathroom and told them to fall asleep in a stall. True story.
Okay.
The whole Luke telling people to take a nap with the Force is like his go-to move in the back half of this book.
I mean, it's classic Luke, man. The amount of times if I had $1, I'm telling you.
So, they're attacked. They're trying to fight their way out. They get cornered. But then what's this? Dash Rendar shows up and saves the day, like Dash do.
Well, in this book, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, book... when I say he just shows up like he do, there's zero explanation for how he knows where these guys are in the novel. He just shows up.
That's twice now that's happened with this
Correct.
guy. Yeah.
We also, in this comic, have totally lost this whole subplot where Dash, like, fails at something earlier in the book and is super bummed out about it, but then decides to just get back on that horse. Now,
Cool.
the four of them, then track down this sewer worker guy who Dash knows. And they contact him.
Has friends in the sewers.
Right. They contact and bribe him so that they can get a schematic of Gizor's palace that Chewbacca, like, lets them know that's where Leia is.
Okay.
And they need, like, a sneaky way of getting in there that no one will suspect. So, let's go in through the sewer, right? Classic.
Yes.
Then, at gunpoint, they basically force this sewer worker into leading them into the sewers at that very moment. And it's this really, like, fraught sequence in which Lando is sort of a scumbag to this guy, but so is Dash Rendar, and Luke's the only one among the companions who is like, wait, we're threatening to kill this sewer worker now so we can get where we need to go? Yes, they are.
All this to get us to the first page of this comic?
All of this to get us to the first page of this comic. Now, there is also everything else going on with Vader and Gizor and Leia that is obviously expanded upon in the novel. But we got most of that covered in the last issue. So,
Okay.
now we are in media res, moving through the sewer. Trash compactor monster. It's a Dianoga. There's this fun little dichotomy here between the last time Luke fought one of these things, he was almost killed. Now he handles it no problem.
And I love they have to have him call that out and just be like, I've been here before, man.
And I mean, obviously the point here is to show that Luke has grown in strength as a character, right?
Oh, is that the point? Because they expressly say that. Like, yeah, I get that. It's very on the nose.
Yeah. So, now we're caught up. You're welcome.
Yeah.
We may now continue the comic already in progress.
And then Dash Render is being like, fine, always spending time in garbage, Luke. Gamp.
Oh, Dash. I guess...
Your days are numbered, Dash.
So now they're going through, and we get this sequence in which Luke, like, reaches out with his mind to let Leia know they're coming.
Oh, of course. Also, can I just talk about the rendering of the sewer guy? He has to be the most rat-looking guy with a giant nose, and, like, I work in the sewers.
In the movie, he'd be played by John Leguizamo.
Oh, I was going to say John Hawkes.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. Any of those guys, any of those, like, New York character actors, I mean, hell, Buscemi could even get in there, probably.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Call up the normal weasels we hire. Yeah. Of course, that's the sewer guy.
We do get some thought bubbles from Luke here explaining everything I just did in way less words.
It's lucky Dash Rendar picked up on Chewie's message and came to lend a hand. We'd never have got this far without his smuggling contacts. With Chewie and Lando, we might just pull this off. I think they will.
I think they will.
And then he's like, "Hey, Leia," and she's like, "Luke?" Like, "Yeah, Leia, I'm here. Just don't worry, we're gonna come save you again."
Yeah. So meanwhile, Leia is back in Jizor's palace. She has rechanged back into her bounty hunter outfit.
Why?
There's a thing in the book how she doesn't want to wear clothes given to her by Jizor because he's a rapist piece of shit.
Okay, I mean, fair. Pretty accurate.
So, also, that helmet will be very important soon.
Oh, good. Yeah, right. Perfect.
You know, in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, shit, we can't get rid of it. We gotta have a reason why she has it in that movie. Okay.
Yeah.
This is some of the problems we've talked about when you're trying to set this between the two. The two poles that they're telling their story between require some like, we still have to get to Return of the Jedi. And boy, does this comic want to get us to Return of the Jedi.
What's so funny about the bounty hunter costume, the Boosh costume specifically, is that they introduced it themselves as a complication that needs to get to Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So
there was no call for. They did that to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So bending over backwards to now bring it with us is their own fault.
Like I said, it's never one of those things where I was like, now, where did she get this? I'm going to need a story on that. I just assumed she kind of made it up. I didn't really.
Wait, why did Han wear a parka on Hoth? Where did he get a parka?
Yeah. I can't wait to get the story of where he got that jacket that's just his vest with sleeves. It's an Empire. I want the same look, but it's cold, so I need sleeves. There's your story.
There's a great bit in the book at this particular scene when Luke is reaching out to Leia and vice versa, where Darth Vader also picks up on this like force communication that's happening.
Hello, is this a potty line?
He tries to like intercept because he thinks it's Luke. He's hunting Luke, right? And then you get this little flicker of like, wait, there's two ripples in the force? How can that be? It must be just like a weird force echo. So it's a little bit of like foreshadowing of like him figuring out that there's actually a twin sister. I don't know. I liked it.
I'd have to see it in execution.
It's not here, so
yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't it sounds silly, but you could write it well, I'm sure. I don't know. Anyway, they do some fighting.
Yeah, they come out guns blazing. They take out some guards that are down here in the sewer. We completely lose track of sewer guy.
To him.
He dies.
Okay. Yeah, I mean...
Just not on panel. There's a whole sequence in the book where the reason they have him at gunpoint and are like threatening him is because they assume a guy that they can bribe, the Empire can also bribe. So if they let him go before their mission is being executed, he will immediately turn them in for a bribe of some kind.
I like Dash diving through the air and shooting two guys.
Yeah, he goes full Bad Boys.
Yep. Not as cool as that, but sure, yeah. So much for sneaking in quietly.
Chewie's got his bowcaster. It's more reasonable to assume that was left aboard the Millennium Falcon in this book. In the novel, they say he just finds one, which is way dumber and funnier.
Hey, perfect!
My iconic weapon. Glad they had him in stock.
They must have known I was... Yeah, do we ever see anyone else use a bowcaster, really?
Han in Force Awakens, but
yeah, I mean, but that's Chewie's bowcaster. I'm just saying, like, I've never seen another one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think we see more of them on Kashyyyk.
Yeah, I take it to be a Wookiee weapon. It would have to be, right?
Yeah, we see them in Revenge of the Sith, and I think we see more of them in like Fallen Order, where there's the whole like Kashyyyk sequence in that.
But I think the idea that they're just lying about everywhere, like, oh, what armory doesn't have at least a couple bowcasters?
Yeah. So, as Lando put it, so much for sneaking in quietly.
Yep. And Luke's like, all right, we've murdered everyone. Let's go.
Chewie, lead the way. Your haircut is slightly less offensive this issue because the artist has changed.
Yeah. Anyway, in the fucking Iron Man tower of Jizor's.
Yeah, he's in the Forbidden City of the Chinese Emperor.
Yeah, it's a bit much. I gotta say, a note across the board on this: way too much on the colors.
Yeah,
Calm
and
down.
like it's really clear in this issue that the artist is kind of being rushed here, and the art is a little all over the place between our two artists.
Yes, absolutely. And we saw that with some of the fight on the last one. It just everything gets a little like gobbledygook kind of stuff in here.
Because
The art has been getting worse over the course of this comic.
it feels rushed.
Yeah, it does, and now there's literally two guys rushing.
So we've got
yeah.
Gizor monologuing to himself that,
Witless.
the Millennium Falcon has arrived on Coruscant. Clearly Skywalker's on his way. Good, all according to plan.
Because he's just got to be a creep. He's got his shirt off, of course.
Of course. He's talking to Guri, his assistant slash assassin slash robot, though.
Slash Ron Randall's favorite character in Star Wars.
Well, she will be.
We're gonna have to cover that at some point.
No.
Just that just gets it. That never
I am executive decision saying no, John. For your sanity and mine.
You're not going to get much fight from me on that.
I went and read it after I saw that it existed. And once I established that it was just Ron Randall figuring out how to draw sexy space ladies and little else.
And we love Ron Randall. You're saying I should just open up my Trekker omnibus instead?
Go read Trekker. He mastered the art of sexy space ladies. He does a great job doing it over there.
Trekker's great. I love Trekker. Yeah. And once again, we love Ron Randall. He's one of our favorites. So anyway, though, he's like, so he's like, I did not expect him so soon. Once again, he's like, well, I didn't expect him this soon, but I did expect him because once again, 40 steps ahead of everyone. Don't worry. This was all part of the plan.
Why don't you go bring Leia to me? I'm sure nothing will happen. And then we get basically a comedy beat of 3 panels.
Yeah.
Where
also, she clonks her on the head with her helmet.
Uh-huh.
She's a robot.
Yep.
What does clonking a robot on the head do?
In the book, literally nothing other than throwing her off balance momentarily so Leia can rush out the door and close it behind her.
Oh, because it reads as much more violent here. I actually like that.
Yeah.
Because robots don't, they don't, well, I don't need to explain this. Robots aren't humans. It's not like I hit them in the head and knock them. What's an unconscious robot?
The fact that she's a droid is barely a plot point in this comic. It's way more important in the novel.
We talked about this. We know she's a droid when we're talking about this. I don't know how much the comic talks about that.
There's one line from Leia 2 issues ago that tells us that she is, but other than that, it's not relevant.
That's right. And so that's the thing here where I'm sitting this. But a lot of people probably just went like, oh yeah, well this is a woman who got her head knocked silly.
And that's what makes the Shadows of the Empire Evolution, the sequel comic to this, that is drawn by Ron Randall and written by, the guy who wrote the novel. Yeah.
Steve Perry, yeah.
That's what makes that comic so interesting, at least in the abstract, is that it is a book where Guri, this character who just gets wonked on this page, is the main character.
Yes.
And so, all the questions in that book revolve around, how much humanity she has as a robot. And you know me, I'm a sucker for robots trying to be people stories.
You live for it.
I do. But the fact that the comic book sequel to this comic book is about that, and she is barely a character in this comic, is really weird.
It's really weird. I have no questions about this character. I'm not like, man, I really need more of Guri.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets wonked and locked in a room, and Leia escapes.
Anyway, the rest of our heroes continue to murder their way through this palace.
Yep, and they're blowing up security cameras and killing people. Luke's got his lightsaber. He's talking to 3PO. Now strap in.
Oh, strap. Yeah, I already had this experience, and I was unstrapped at the time, unfortunately. I was thrown about by what's about to happen.
Who'd have thunk that the Rosencrantz of Guildenstern of Star Wars would be bad at flying a spaceship?
Well, I think we talked about this issues and episodes ago. We talked about 3PO operating a land speeder, and we were questioning of it. 3PO's going to fly the fucking Millennium Falcon in this.
Because right now we get Luke on comms being contacted by 3PO saying, Master Luke, there are men with guns coming toward the ship.
Yeah. And
So
he's like, just take off, 3PO.
Luke,
Throws it out like that's just a thing 3PO can do.
yeah, and again in the novel, there's a sequence in which, like, before they even leave the Falcon, Luke and talks to 3PO and R2, being like, "Okay, you two, if anything happens, I need the two of you to work together. Put aside your relationship issues and fly this thing to come save us."
Insane.
Insane, yeah. In the comic, it's all compressed down to this little bit of dialogue here as they're moving and running and gunning.
Yeah, which makes it 10 times more insane.
But a door opens up, and what's this? Hey, Leia's here. Problem solved.
Great. That's convenient. Perfect. Hold your fire. It's Leia. Great.
Yeah, well, this comic's only got 15 pages left. We gotta hurry.
Leia, we have to get to the end of the story.
Leia, stating the obvious, says, "It's a trap. Xizor's the one who wants to kill you, Luke."
Yeah. And he's like, that makes sense.
Moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, cut to 3PO's got the fucking Falcon upside down. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So in the book, we never actually, like, cut to 3PO and R2's perspective on any of this. We just get him yammering at Luke through the comm, like, vaguely narrating how much of a bumbling pilot he is.
Oh, God. I love 3PO, and I know some people find him annoying. This is why people find him annoying. Because of shit like this.
Yeah, yeah.
It really does damage to the stakes here.
So,
and also, it's pretty insulting if you're, like, a huge fan of the Millennium Falcon.
oh yeah. Well, look, at least in the novel, they have him, like, plowing through a residential, like, porch and, like, doing the classic fly through an advertising billboard.
Oh, Jesus. Hey, that's my car!
Yeah. So at least we don't get any of that in this comic.
Okay, yeah, I guess. I love that you're just like, hey, here's context. It could be worse. You're right. That sounds worse. Yeah. All right. Well, sure.
Yeah. Just imagine the Coca-Cola logo written in Arabesh, the Star Wars written language, and then the Millennium Falcon flying through it.
I've seen that because
I know you have.
Down in Galaxy's Edge there, all the soda is printed like it exists in the world of Star Wars, which is a cool detail. All right. So, and I like Luke's like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Well, he's trusting in the Force here, right?
Yeah. Because Leia's like, you let the fucking droids drive the ship. And he's like, they're fine. Don't worry about them, Leia. Okay.
So on the next page, what's this? It's Xizor. He's cut them off at the pass.
Caused me a great deal of trouble, Skywalker. And he's got his weird gun.
Yeah, he's got like a hand crossbow laser gun.
Yeah. I don't know. They don't. Anyway, he zats at him.
Thankfully, he does not know that Luke can block lasers.
That's my favorite line in this. He goes, that's interesting that he can do that. I didn't know that was that was kind of cool, actually.
It's actually a great moment in the book too, because like, yeah, Xizor's here with Guri and his guards, and they're opening fire, and Luke just starts ricocheting the laser blast, and they all kind of stop, being like, "Wait, holy shit, he can do that?"
I like that once again in concept. I'm hating everything about Xizor as a character, though, so it's hard to enjoy it too much. But I just love that idea about like, oh god, did everyone see that? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it because it hurts my plan, but good lord, not bad. Pretty cool.
Guri's line here of like, well, he is related to Vader.
Don't you say that name.
Also, does she know that?
Who knows that or doesn't is really pretty fast and loose here.
I know Xizor knows that because of the novel. Again, it's not actually covered in this comic book.
Well, it's covered in a roundabout way that Vader deduces that he must know that.
Yeah.
Not how he knows it, or it's just more like, I guess he must have figured that out. Uh-oh.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
So they duck into a side room. They're trapped, but Lando's like, okay, well, I've got one last plan here that maybe can get us out of this.
Maybe, just maybe.
He's got a few thermal detonators packed away for a special occasion.
I mean, look, I do get excited when people pull out thermal detonators. I'm ready. Let's see some stuff blow up.
So,
it's going to be pretty dumb what happens, but...
In the comic, I will say it's a little bit dumber, or in the novel, I should say, is a little bit dumber, because he has 3 thermal detonators in the novel. Mm-hmm. Leia grabs one, puts it in the pocket of her, like, bounty hunter costume, and the novel definitely, like, takes a beat to be like, she's going to use that later. You all know.
Yeah. Remember the movie, you guys?
Yeah.
Setting up things that didn't need to be set up. But where did she get that thermal detonator?
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Turns out it was Lando's.
Anyway, this is their big plan, is Luke goes, hey, everybody be cool. Because you brought guns to a thermal detonator fight.
It doesn't happen a lot. I think the only other time I can really think about it is in the Anchorman movie, when everyone pulls out guns and Brick Tamlin just has a grenade.
Rick, where did you get that grenade? I don't know. The funniest lines in any movie ever. And then in the second movie when he just has a laser gun.
Yeah. Where did you get a laser gun?
I don't know. But anyway, Luke's got... So they're each holding thermal detonators. Luke's is on a dead man switch. So if they shoot him, he'll drop it and everybody dies. And Lando's like, you think that's crazy? Mine's set to a 5-minute detonation. We're all going to hell tonight.
Right.
And Xizor is just like, I didn't realize you want some kind of insane suicide mission. This is pretty crazy for you two. And I'm like, agreed, Xizor. Agreed. Which I don't like having to say.
I'm not a fan of agreeing with this date rapist asshole.
No. But in this case, he's absolutely right. This is insane.
Yeah. So the idea here is that, like, okay, if you kill Luke, which is Xizor's plan, everybody dies. But also, this thing's going to go off in 5 minutes, so you'd better run.
Also, everybody's going to die anyway. It's crazy. And so, yeah, Lando throws it down the garbage chute.
He throws it down the garbage chute.
Eat hot garbage, suckers. You're gonna hate how this smells.
Well, and they don't really make it clear in this comic, but they make it a lot more clear in the novel.
The catchphrase of this series.
I know. But the idea, like, how devastating a thermal detonator actually is, because, like, with the context of Return of the Jedi, we think of it basically like a grenade.
Right.
The way it's described in the book, I'm trying to find the exact passage here, but, like, they describe it as a thermonuclear detonation, like a tactical nuke, essentially.
Go off?
It goes off in the novel, and his whole castle is annihilated. Well, everybody dies.
That's how do we have any context in any of the movies or shows or anything for what a thermal detonator does?
They explode.
They explode, yeah, but I'm saying I don't think we've actually seen one go off, right? Have we?
We've seen, like, Rebels and stuff. We'll see it blow up. They'll, like, plant them on ships and blow up.
I guess that's true, but I've never read it as a thermonuclear event.
Yeah, no, it's way more hardcore in this than anything else we've seen.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I do, because in my mind, they are, like, maybe a little bit more powerful grenades.
Yeah. So, we've got a loopy Millennium Falcon flying in for the rescue.
Yep. And then, oh my God, I just love Luke being like, look, get on the ship. That's the best he's going to do, you guys. Honestly, he's doing a lot better than I expected. So, you know.
This could have gone way worse.
So much worse, man. So just, let's all shut up, okay? The fact this thing is even in one piece right now is crazy to me.
The fact that 3PO got it from where it was parked to here is the greatest miracle we've all experienced.
Yeah, by the way, the more realistic thing is either he fully crashes or he's like, what do you mean? I'm at the building. You're at the wrong building, 3PO. Oh, damn it. Yeah. So this is huge.
Here I found the description of
good,
the thermal detonator.
Yeah.
If the boy wasn't bluffing and somebody shot him, a Class A thermal detonator would take out several floors of the building in a heartbeat. With that many of the support girders erased, the 80-odd stories above them would collapse. The structure might topple like a log tree to smash into the streets below, or it might telescope straight down and flatten whoever might be inside.
Jesus. An act of terrorism the likes of which...
I mean, look, we've already seen Yoda pilot the Death Star into Coruscant, so I don't think anything will match that.
No. In that alternate timeline where Yoda became the most extreme suicide bomber ever seen to mankind. You know? Good God. Still can't believe that. That was the most insane. We'll never see anything as insane as that, I don't think.
We still got 2 more Infinities books to read, John, so I don't know if you should say that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that one too. Having read those already, I had forgotten that, so maybe I forgot some other crazy shit too.
Anyway, they all pile on. We completely skip a scene from the book in which Luke has a final confrontation with Guri.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
The thermal detonator does his job because this place does vadoom pretty good.
It vadooms real good, and there are way more innocents killed from this than I think they were intending.
Damn Skywalker! To lose my castle!
Just remember that Coruscant goes down for a long time, so anyone caught below this building exploding in the stratified layers of population in the lower depths of Coruscant is also getting messed up.
It's really accomplished by doing this other than pissing him off?
Yeah, they're pissing him off, which is fine. Screw Xizor. That guy sucks.
I mean, yeah, he sucks, but he's flying in his weird little ship.
Look, now available at Sears.
Yeah. Kids, make sure you ask your parents for that. Put this on your Christmas list.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of his ship? They don't say it in the comic, but like it's a big detail in the book. The Viargo or something?
Probably. I don't know. Anyway, he's like, everybody destroy the Millennium Falcon.
The Virago, that's what it's called.
Oh, yeah. That sounds about right for him. Yeah, he's like, everybody target the Millennium Falcon and destroy it.
Yep, because he's flying up to his own personal space station where he also has his own personal attack fleet, essentially.
Because let's not forget, he's the Bond villain of Star Wars, so of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, oh boy, here's some Dash Rendar for you.
Dash Rendar, leaving just as quickly as he appeared, leaps out of the Millennium Falcon to the Outrider, his own spaceship.
Crazy, and he's like, "See everybody, I'll be back for sure in many more adventures."
So I want to talk about the video game briefly.
Yes.
In the video game, Dash Rendar is, of course, our main character. You're playing as Dash the whole game.
How could it be anyone else?
The whole the game is split into 4 parts, like Act 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Act 4 is mostly all Xizor's palace. You're sneaking around through the sewers. Okay. You fight a big tentacle monster down there, and it all culminates in this battle in a labyrinth against this weird cyclopean droid that you have to fight. It's wild.
Okay, sure.
None of that is in the novel. None of that is in this comic.
Some things.
There is also, in the game, Dash is the one to blow up Xizor's palace.
Right.
Which is, of course, not the case in the novel or the comic.
Yeah, but he's the main character of the video game, so he has to be.
But he has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then the last level of the game is what we're about to get to here, which is this big space battle with the Millennium Falcon and the Outrider, and some other people might show up.
Yeah.
Because if we turn to the next page, what's this? We're outnumbered, but good thing that Rogue Squadron, that popular other comic book, shows up just now.
That happens to be drawn by the guy we added to this, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big deal about Rogue Squadron's here. I'm shocked there's not a footnote in there about, like, as seen in issue whatever of this.
Yeah, editor's note, please see the crossover event.
Rogue Squadron was doing this, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Rogue Squadron and the Millennium Falcon and the Outrider are all fighting the Black Sun Navy.
I gotta say, that's another thing too that really hurts Dash Rendar. You're like, you have a Wedge until he's right there. If you need a new hero guy in here, I mean, he's not a Han Solo type, but he is awesome.
I mean, he's more Top Gun than he is like Scoundrel, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. If you want somebody to become the next, and actually you don't even need that because you have fucking Lando. But
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, Wedge rules, man. We're huge Wedge Antilles supporters here. Eventually, we'll get to that Rogue Squadron comic, and it'll be a whole love fest for the character of Wedge Antilles. Anyway,
that'll be the Wedge head season, yes.
Yeah. Get your Wedge heads. I did actually, Hasbro, they make those nice replicas of the helmets. They did make a Wedge helmet that I want to get Wedge's helmet. Anyway, yeah, they show up here at the last minute to save everybody.
Because, meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, Vader, in his Super Star Destroyer, is like, hey, where's this Xizor asshole? Yeah. He's on the other side of the planet? All right, time to go take care of this.
Yeah. I've been waiting for this. I'm totally going to murder him now.
Basically.
Yeah. This guy sucks.
I mean, look, Vader, we're on the same page.
Yeah. So we've got sort of a three-way battle.
Yeah, battle is joined. We have this big climactic spaceship fight. It turns out that the Black Sun guys don't really care about shooting civilians, so the rebels are kind of on the back foot here.
Oh shit, are the Black Sun guys the bad guys? They don't seem very good. So they yes, it's a big fight and
then when the TIE fighters show up, the rebels are like, wait, hold on, the TIE fighters are shooting the Black Sun guys. Oh, wait, are we on the same team now?
Yeah, for this brief moment, we're on the same page as the Imperials.
Xizor confronts Lord Vader, talking about with him with a dialogue sequence that actually never happens in this comic, which is interesting. Because they're referring to Darth Vader said, hey, you were warned not to go poking at Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. When did that happen?
In the book.
Yeah, okay. Good. so many times that they're like, you all read the book, right? It's like, no, what? You can't assume that. What is the point of this comic?
Oh, what a good question.
There's not even, talk about an editor's note. They don't even do the asterisk as seen in the novel. You would expect that, maybe.
Maybe.
No. Fuck that.
Anyway, Vader gives Xizor the first warning of the comic, but the final warning of the Shadows of the Empire story.
This is the last time I tell you this from all the other times I told you it, remember?
Right. You have 2 minutes to surrender. If you don't, you're dead.
He's going to kill him no matter what.
And in the book, there's this dramatic countdown as there's 2 minutes remaining. There's a minute and a half remaining, 60 seconds remaining. Xizor is remaining indecisive. He doesn't actually... He kind of flinches in this moment in the book.
Could be...
And it's the first time you kind of see him lose his cool because it's like Vader gives him this ultimatum that he can't squirm out of.
Anyway, they blow him up.
Yeah, because that all happens between the gutters here, as an Imperial officer just says on the next panel. 2 minutes have elapsed, my lord.
Why? Here's the thing. If you're like why even put in the 2 minute thing if you're not going to actually do anything with it?
Because it's in the book. It's in the novel.
Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, it's weird. Also, wasn't this about Boba Fett?
Oh, we'll get there.
Right? It's just like, I thought I was reading a Boba Fett book.
No, because we got to finish recapping the novel for reasons.
Because the purpose of this comic is what?
Anyway, Vader says, carry out my orders, Commander, which is destroy the Prince Xizor's Skyhook, his little space station here.
And they do.
And it blows up.
And he's dead, right?
Yeah.
All right. Kind of an unceremonious end for this character. I mean, it fits because I don't think he's a great character, but it feels like there should be more to the main character, the main villain of this getting killed.
Nope.
All right. Do what you got to do, man. Yeah, it's like, okay, Vader just blows up his ship. Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, they did it.
They did it. Yeah, the final level of the video game is the space battle and you blowing up the space station because it's Dash Rendar who blows up the space station, John.
Well, Dash Rendar does all according to the video game.
Pretty much.
The most heroic character in the history of Star Wars, Dash Rendar. I hope we see him a lot in Return of the... What's that?
Yeah, so you talk about this being a sort of like deflated ending for the guy they built up as this big bad guy, right? And so you'd expect me to come out and say like, well, actually, he comes back in such and such a fashion in the No, he never does.
No,
he doesn't. I genuinely, you would think that like some clone bullshit or something. Nope, Caesar's dead here.
That's... If anything, that does speak to what a disappointment he is as a villain, right? That nobody even bothered to... Because it's so easy to do that in Star Wars. Nobody was ever like... Everybody was just like, nah, we're good. We're good on Xizor.
He's gotten some lip service over the years because the Black Sun Syndicate has remained, even to this day, as a part of the canon.
Although, as we've talked about, it's sort of been tamped down by the Crimson Dawn. But it's still like, also there's this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But... he's dead, so I'm sure all of our heroes are just fine until... Uh-oh! Dash Rendar, no!
Why?
Dash goes out like such a punk in this comic.
Look out, Dash! Oh, shit.
You don't even see what happens in the comic. They don't even show the Outrider exploding.
He hit a piece of debris or something?
So the Skyhook explodes, the big space station. It explodes. Yeah. And in the novel, it's implied that Dash gets caught in the explosion and dies.
Okay.
In this,
don't be lame.
It shows in a very confusing panel because everything is gunmetal gray. It's really hard to tell exactly what is happening there. It shows this huge piece of debris just in front of the Outrider, and then we cut to the interior of the Falcon and this huge flash of light that makes Luke and Chewie cover their eyes.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, poor guy. I mean, it's kind of condescending, right? Nah, poor guy, he almost made it too. Anyway.
Now, would it surprise you to learn that Dash Rendar does survive?
No, it wouldn't at all.
So, in the video game, specifically, there is this same sequence. Everything explodes, and we cut to our heroes, Luke and Chewie, and they're like, "Oh no, Dash died." Credits.
Yeah. Not our new best friend, Dash.
And then we get Dash and his robot sidekick, who we, I think, see in one panel in this comic. His name's Lebo. He's kind of snarky.
Yeah, you do briefly see Lebo, but this book doesn't give a crap.
Yeah. But we see them in their cockpit flying away being like, hey, better to make them think I'm a martyr without actually dying, am I right? Good times. I'm going to keep on dashing, baby.
You can't take a great character like Dash off the board.
And now, would it also surprise you to learn that the next place we see Dash Rendar is, in fact, these Shadows of the Empire Evolution comic book, where he, at the end of that book, basically pulls a Nick Fury and says, hey, Guri, I want to talk to you about the Star Wars Initiative.
I'm putting together Forgotten Side characters from a Forgotten Side novel.
Basically.
Yeah. So, and then literally we get this thing where it's like, so if Xizor was on the Skyhook, I guess that puts an end to that.
Way to go.
And then they go like, all right, well, I guess everybody's... Oh, God, Wedge looks so fucking weird.
Yeah, he looks like a BPRD character back there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are we going to do now? Play out the events of Return of the Jedi. No, I'm sorry, get Han. But yeah, basically that's what he says. He's like, all right, time for movie 3, everybody.
So, this is basically where the novel ends as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the novel, the epilogue is Luke recording the message to Jabba, saying, I present to you these 2 droids.
Makes sense.
That is not where this comic book ends.
Oh, no, because we've basically, for the last 2 issues, completely forgotten about who the main characters of this comic were.
Remember Jix.
Yeah, this was the Jix and Boba Fett book.
So we gotta wrap that up real quick.
I read this going like, oh, I guess we'll never get back to it, because this felt like the ending. It's like, oh no, wait, here we go. Here's Jix.
Hard cut back to Tatooine.
Darth Vader's best friend, Jix.
Darth Vader's best friend, Jix, is trying to explain why Jabba's men found him in a room with a corpse.
Look, it's not what it looks like, all right? Let me explain.
Just because my monogram knife was in his throat.
And he spelled out his own blood, Jix killed me before he died. That doesn't mean what you think it means, all right? Yeah.
So Jabba is grilling him, and it looks like Jix might get fed to the Rancor before Bib Fortuna says, "Everyone, look outside, Boba Fett's here."
Like any good Star Wars fan, he's like, wow, Boba Fett! And then Jabba's like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to pay this guy now? Ugh.
Jabba's line here is like pretty cold-blooded, because if Boba Fett gets here, Jabba has to pay the agreed upon amount, which is apparently a lot.
Yeah.
So he says to the room of scumbags around him, whoever can kill Boba Fett and bring me Han Solo gets 5,000 credits. Go.
I like that beat from Jabba. That does feel very on brand. What doesn't feel on brand is he's like, all right, we're going to let this sit right now, Jix. Like, wouldn't it be better let's just kill this guy real quick, and then let's go deal with this, right? Like, because the whole thing with Jix is like, when he's talking to him at the beginning before Boba Fett shows up, he's basically just like, look, we've accounted for literally everyone else who works with me. It had to be you who murdered this guy.
And Jix, like, in the most like petulant little like, oh sure, blame the new guy.
I once again weakening Jabba as a character who I don't even think would let him talk. He'd be like, Rancor pit.
Yeah,
you're done. Get out of here. This guy sucks. Anyway, here we go. Psycho Boba Fett still talking to Frozen Nuts. This is it, Solo. You will die.
Not for you, I suppose. Like a pestilence, you'd survive anything. But me, one bold stroke and I'm home or dead.
Jesus Christ.
So, Slave One comes rocketing in towards Jabba's palace. It lands in the outskirts, and we see that there is a swoop gang coming in to intercept, led by Bosk of all people.
Where did Bosk come from?
No idea.
I'm here too, because I've got to be. Contractually, I have to be here.
And so, flying out of Slave One's hold, we see Boba Fett on a speeder bike with a hover sled behind him that presumably has Han Solo.
I love that. He's just got like a chain to the back of this thing. And they're all shooting at him. They're fizzacking and zatting.
All right. Last issue, John. I asked you to fix in your mind the height difference between Zuckuss and Boba Fett. That is important now.
I'm aware of why that's important, because I thought this was dumb even without that. Anyway, so they're shooting him, and our beloved friend Spiker,
no!
5,000 credits, that fat tightwad. That ain't what he promised, Fett. And they're like, hey man, 5,000 is still good money though.
So now we've got a bunch of swoop gangs and bounty hunters fighting each other. Spiker goes down. So does Jix. Oh, poor Jix.
Yeah. And then, remember me, Fett? Yeah, we just, like, that was not that long ago that we talked.
Bosk, you're literally the only weird lizard guy we've seen in this comic. Yeah. Why would we not remember
I feel like they run across each other, but yeah. So he's shooting at him. We get Jix being like, Spiker, you okay? Oh, he's not okay, man.
But that's great, because now I can plant the evidence that I was the guy that killed that other guy on Spiker.
This really works out. And so, yeah, they've got Boba Fett. They downed him. This looks like the end.
And they pull off his Mandalorian helmet. And what's this? There's a second helmet underneath the helmet. And it's Zuckuss.
Yeah, I would love to see this in live action, because how is that helmet fitting over? Also, he's got 2 sets of Mandalorian armor. I mean, I know this is then, right? So they haven't really but like that really doesn't jibe with our understanding of Mandalorians today.
Yeah, nope, it doesn't make any sense.
The idea that you would ever give your armor to somebody else is insane. And two, that you would have just like he's got a closet full of these helmets and stuff. What?
Yeah, because turns out Boba Fett dressed Zuckuss up in a spare set. This is probably like the cheapo stuff he got from Spirit Halloween that says Armored Space Warrior on the bag.
Perfect. I should just buy a costume of myself in case I need it. But and then and then instead of the Carbonite Han Solo, it's the destroyed body of Forlom.
Oh, poor Forlom.
Yeah. We've been suckered, says three-eyed guy.
And then we cut to the interior, and Boba Fett has delivered his prize to Jabba the Hutt.
Mm-hmm. Like Salacious Crumb sitting on it being like,
See, what we don't know is that Salacious Crumb can also hear Han Solo talking.
What's that? Did you hear what he called me? Yeah.
But yeah, Boba Fett still dressed like Boba Fett, so he clearly has a spare set of armor.
Seems like why didn't you just get that instead of making a big deal about wanting to get it back from Tim Oliphant then? I don't know doesn't he just have a spare set lying around?
Well, no, because Zuckuss walked away with that.
That's right. That was my second. I only had two. Now I got to go deal with Oliphant. I got to go deal with Raylan Givens.
Then we have this quick scene in which Boba Fett barters with Jabba the Hutt.
I'm so glad all this was included. I would have had so many unanswered questions.
He wants 10 times the reward for bringing in Han Solo now.
But Jabba's a little cheap, but that's a lot, Boba. That's a lot. And you know what I don't love is Bosk outside being like, curse you, Fett!
I love this little aside between Bosk and Zuckuss at the very... This is the last page of the comic.
Yeah.
And we get Bosk saying, curse Fett, he thinks he's real smart. And Zuckuss off to the side, still half dressed as Boba Fett, says...
The Boba Fett army, yeah.
He is real smart, Bosk. That's why he's the best.
And every Star Wars nerd is like, that's right! Oh, Fett! And I love Boba Fett. We all love Boba Fett, but it is just like... this ain't Boba Fett, folks. And actually, it's not the last page of the comic.
No, because we do get one last little cutaway to Vader.
Because they're just like, no, we just haven't set up Return of the Jedi enough.
We're approaching Endor, Lord Vader, and we see, what's this? A second Death Star? Who'da thunk?
What? And Vader's like, oh, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah, we get this internal monologue from Vader here. It has been a perilous time, but not an unprofitable one. Thankfully, the Emperor was not unaware of Xizor's treachery.
That's some good writing right there. But yeah, he's basically just like, okay, I'm about to do the stuff in Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Now I am in the mindset of my plan from that movie. His last internal monologue line is, together we will rule the galaxy as father and son. You're like, yeah, you said that in the last movie.
I want to rewind a little bit, get back to Boba Fett. Because, yeah, Darth Vader's going to do his Darth Vader thing.
Yeah.
Luke is off to go rescue Han. Return of the Jedi is going to happen.
Yeah.
What do we know about Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi?
He's just sort of chilling at Jabba's, isn't he?
Why the fuck would he stick around at Jabba's palace after all this?
Yeah, I also was expecting that. I was like, where was he like, how about you come work for me or something like that? Doesn't that feel like that should have been?
Or like, I'll stick around until you can pay me. Like, maybe that's the vibe.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure you don't. So, I mean, yeah, when he's walking away at the end here, is he just like, I'm going to go get something from my car, and then I'll be back, and you better have a room ready for me. What do you... yeah. No, he is. He's just hanging out.
They constructed this weird side plot for Boba Fett for this comic specifically, which, okay, if you're going to have this tell some other parts of the Shadows of the Empire story, I think where did Boba Fett and Han Solo get to is a decent enough story you could tell.
Yeah.
But the fact that they bend over backwards to tell this like story of all these other bounty hunters trying to stop him, cool. But then also adding this antagonism between him and Jabba the Hutt, like also making him a raving lunatic doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. It just it's so weird how much they're setting up Return of the Jedi, except for the guy who sort of ends up being the main character of this comic. They don't set him up well at all.
Yeah. And obviously what doesn't help is that like this is sort of the beginning of the characterization of Boba Fett that would eventually solidify into the like man a few words, total stone cold badass, right?
Yeah.
And
the one we all know and love.
Yeah, but it's just like it's not quite here yet.
Pieces of it are, but the thing is, once again, this is all added because I mean, as we've talked about, there's not much, of course, much of him in the movies, right? So you're additive anyway, but what you're adding is making him dumb.
Yeah, and look, for context about around what's happening in this time in Star Wars comics, there is an issue of a Boba Fett comic before this. After this, we start getting more and more. It's not until 99 that we get what was like one of the first iconic Boba Fett comics, which is Enemy of the Empire, and that's the whole like him versus Darth Vader thing.
Yes. And that's where we really start to see, and that makes sense because you said 99, so we're 10. That's when I'm at peak, like Boba Fett rules.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and once again all made up, but because I actually think if you just were to watch the movies, you might just think he just works for Jabba.
Yeah.
It just seems like he goes and gets it, brings it back to Jabba, and then he's there. Just Empire and Jedi, he kind of reads as just Jabba's personal bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this doesn't do anything, or this actively dissuades against that, but in a way that makes no sense.
Yeah. And obviously, like, I think the big capstone on the, like, characterization comes in the form of a novel 2 years after this, which is the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy.
Which fucking rules.
Yeah, which is the whole, like, him escaping the Sarlacc pit and getting helped out by Dengar. Plus, we get flashbacks to, like, Boba Fett dismantling the bounty hunter organizations in the galaxy. It's good stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
There's actually a new, like, hardcover that Barnes & Noble just put out of all 3 books that looks
I think we talked about that
sweet.
before. That is awesome. Well, that's one of the things I do love is, a little bit like the multiverse kind of stuff. That stuff all exists and still happens and is still being in print. You can still enjoy those stories. I'm a huge, once again, no surprise, collector of Star Trek novels, and a lot of that shit doesn't make sense anymore. But there's still fun stories to read.
Yeah. So that's it for Shadows of the Empire, though.
Man, I've been through a lot.
Been through a lot. The comic, I will say, I think there is still a lot of worthwhile stuff to plumb in terms of the Star Wars Legends chronology, right? We wouldn't have this show if that stuff didn't exist.
Sure. I mean, that's one of the things we've always talked about. Star Wars is really good at not forgetting about anything and going back to stuff and going, ooh, there was a kernel of a good idea here. What if we pulled the... I mean, who knows? Someday we could get a Xizor, at least like character or something.
He's been name dropped a couple of times throughout the modern canon.
I would not be surprised at all if a Favreau or Filoni or somebody like that picks him up and totally rethinks him in some way. And, because there's a kernel of an interesting idea there.
But he's definitely a tier below your Thrawns or your, Emperor cloning himself scheme. Because let's not forget, we all shit on Rise of Skywalker for somehow Palpatine returned. That shit happened twice in the Expanded Universe novels.
It did. Although the thing that's really funny about that is we would have been more okay, honestly, if Oscar Isaac had said, we've discovered Palpatine cloned himself. That, honestly, I would have been like, okay. It's the fact that they don't commit to anything, that they just go somehow. As stupid as the cloning is, at least there is precedent for it. So I would have been like, yeah. Because
There's a whole movie called Attack of the Clones, so sure.
He is a clone in that movie?
Yes.
Okay.
He has projected his consciousness into a cloned body.
Yeah, okay. Yes, there you go.
A failure of a cloned body, which is why he needs to possess Rey at the end of that movie. But yeah.
Okay.
And look, if you want to get me started on Project Necromancer, I can.
Because that's why I always give credit to these guys, the fellows over at We Hate Movies, for this. That's why he's in the claw machine from the lobby of a Bennigan's.
Yes, correct.
Best description of of his whole vibe in the movie. Yeah,
I guess it's maybe a little. It might be his original body. I don't think so. I think it is a failed clone. But.
It's a decaying body. Whether that's that would make more sense because, as far as I'm concerned, his body was obliterated at the end of Return of the Jedi, right?
Sure, you'd think his original body would have been vaporized with the second Death Star.
Sure, really seemed like he went into the engines before it even blew up. So or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, man, I don't know. And I'm sure if I asked J.J. Abrams, he would also be like, I don't know.
What I'm getting at is, while this particular way of ingesting Shadows of the Empire, the comic book, is maybe a little suboptimal, let's say.
Oh, I would say so, yeah. That's the thing is, Shadows of the Empire has its flaws to begin with, but you can't base your entire judgment of that on this comic, because this is maybe the worst version of this?
Yeah, the video game has its charms because it is a relic of weird 3D video game design that, like, you got to remember, this was an N64 game and then a PC game. We were just figuring out how to make a third-person action game at that time.
Right.
Like, Nintendo was maybe doing it the best with Mario and Zelda, but, like, we had Tomb Raider over on PlayStation, but we were still in the very early days of this. So having a full-fledged Star Wars game in that era, despite its admittedly massive flaws, it's impressive that they managed to make anything of that like stuck with people and was attracting them because of Star Wars.
Yes.
Obviously, we then had like the Jedi Academy games go even farther with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that is doing the best it can with what it is at that point, right?
Yeah. And the novel is, like, of the Expanded Universe novels, of which I've read, I'm not going to say all of them. I can't claim that, but I've read a lot, let's say.
Certainly infinitely more than me.
And this is maybe on the, like, lower tier of them, because it's trying to be something that is always going to be a problem, which is this weird stopgap story where you can't advance the plot, and it's not really trying to tackle any interesting philosophical or moral issues with these characters. It's just trying to be a romp, which is fine, but, like, in terms of worthwhile Star Wars stories and novels to read, I don't think this cracks into the top 5 for me.
Unlike what we like about the current Marvel run that's set in the same period of time, it's trying to be a romp, but it's also slavishly devoted to setting up Return of the Jedi too. It's like it's got conflicting ideas because, like I said, I love what the Marvel book is doing. Both runs of the comic set between New Hope and Empire, and now Empire and Jedi, is they are telling interesting stories that happen to take place between those and seed more emotional stakes of those movies as opposed to, like, where did Leia get that bounty hunter helmet?
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head where the ignominious end of Prince Gisor, who is like this big, calculating Bond villain bad guy, just get blowed up. He just get blowed up.
And you kind of knew it was going to have to be something like that, right? Because it just feels like, well, this character isn't in the movie, so we just need to get him off the board, and so just blow him up over there. And he's like, okay, well, was this guy like a big deal?
But even in the Disney era, I think we've had big characters that get introduced in things like Clone Wars and Rebels where we know they're not in the movie, so they have to get removed off the board, but they've done a pretty good job of, okay, let's isolate these characters, and then once we get past Return of the Jedi, we can pick back up with them in the forms of, like, Ahsoka or Sabine or Ezra.
Yeah. That's what's been really exciting about a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, do we recommend Shadows of the Empire as an experience? Maybe.
Oh, not the comic.
But not the comic, yeah.
No, I can't speak to the novel. It's been forever since I've read it. It can only be better than this, obviously.
It provides more context. It's basically the same story, though.
Right, and the story is inherently flawed, as we've talked about. Like there's inherent flaws in it, but at least it seems like it's taken a bit more seriously as a novel. It certainly has the road to do that more.
Go watch a YouTube video that is the entire playthrough of the video game. It's only like you can polish that thing off in like 2 hours. I'd say the soundtrack is worth checking out.
The soundtrack is the coolest thing for sure.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is great. It's great. It's just great Star Wars music.
It's also just unique that you don't really have a Star Wars soundtrack that doesn't have an associated movie. It's strange that is the case. Like, obviously, you have video games these days that have very elaborate soundtracks. Actually, the Jedi Survivor soundtrack is phenomenal. But
yeah. No, I mean, there's good stuff from here, but I wouldn't say any of this is must read. You're not missing out on anything. As we've talked about, it's not canon anymore anyway. But just in general, I don't think there's a lot here that you're like, boy, if you're a Star Wars fan, you gotta experience these parts of the book. It kind of just retreads a lot of stuff that other Star Wars stuff does better.
And what makes it notable is that you say, oh, you don't need to experience this, it's not even canon anymore. When it came out, this was Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
We got to reiterate that like, especially for you and I who were growing up in the 90s, before the prequels dropped, there wasn't any more Star Wars. This was a Star Wars without a Star Wars. And so we were rabid for it at the time.
I was like, I need to know everything about Xizor because he's the first new Star Wars bad guy. Well, I guess other than Thrawn,
Right.
But like Thrawn, we were pretty young when those originally came out.
Yeah, and I definitely got them after the fact from the library. I didn't consume those novels as they were coming out.
Thrawn sort of felt like he already existed in some ways. And then, but Xizor was like, oh, it's a new character. He's got a different look. And so, it was, like I said, we were primed for it. We were hungry for Star Wars.
Yep. And so when those special editions came out and Prince Xizor wasn't anywhere in the background, I was like, ah, damn.
But I was so thrilled about Snice Noodles, man.
That's not Snice Noodles doing that singing. Snice Noodles is the like lounge singer with the big tube for the mouth.
Oh, who's doing the? Oh yeah, he's the. Who's doing the singing?
Oh, what's his name? Yarbo? God, I don't remember the character's name.
Hey boy.
I'm just going to type in Jabba's Palace singer guy into Google and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep, got him.
Okay. Well, I won't say. It's not like, I'm sorry, you'll have to specify.
It was Avar Orbus.
Oh, Jesus. Horrible. Terrible.
Of course, that's the Max Rebo band.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love Max Rebo.
We love Max Rebo.
Yeah. Who survived?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, depending on which novel you read. In the, I believe it's the Return of the Jedi from a Certain Point of View novel, one of the short stories is like him basically being ejected out of the sail barge as it explodes.
Gotcha. Okay. But does he make it out of... Wait, is that him in Boba Fett, and didn't he die there, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know.
Isn't he playing that cantina that they blow up in that movie?
He is in that cantina, that's true.
And they do blow the hell out of that, so... I just love, like, this guy can't go anywhere that doesn't blow up.
Oh, sorry. The screaming furry guy's name is Joe Yowza.
Of course it is! Well, that's right up there with Sleaze Bagano. They probably hung out. Joe Yowza. Oh boy, horrible.
I've got the phonetics writing of those lyrics here if you want them.
Oh no! I mean,
Okay.
you're gonna play them anyway, but I don't.
Nope,
want
I won't. I will refrain.
All right.
This episode's going long.
That information is out there, is what you're saying to people.
Oh yeah.
Anywho, that's it for that. We'll be back to our normally scheduled programming next week.
Yeah, we're back into the midst of the Marvel run. We're entering a bold new era, though, because we're basically having our creative team replaced as we knew it.
Yeah.
No more.
Isn't it going to... is it DeMatteis taking? No, not DeMatteis. It's Michelini, right?
Yep, Michelini's taking over. Archie Goodwin is sort of dropping away from the book. We've got a whole new set of artists coming in for a little while, finally getting away from Infantino.
And we so far have liked what we've read of Michelini's writing. I think he's got...
He had 2 issues before we had the, let us call it John Carter digression.
Yeah. But he definitely, it feels like he's got a stronger handle on what Star Wars is.
And we got Walt Simonson on art for the next issue or so. So it's a power team we've got coming up here.
Absolutely. So that'll be good. But of course, if you want more from us, you can head over to our Patreon page, which for the moment is patron.podbean.com/punchup. That may be moving soon. Stay tuned for updates on that. But that Patreon content will still be available. So why don't you just keep an eye on our updates about where you can check out more from us.
But what won't be changing anytime soon, unless the internet goes in a real wild direction, will be our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. There you can watch all the shows, including this one, where you can read along with the comic as we're talking about it. You can just see it with your eyes on the screen. It's pretty great. I recommend vision as one of the senses, personally.
That's a good one, yeah. That's the best way of... we often say that's the best way to experience this show, for sure.
I think so. But while you're there, you can also see all the other shows from the Punch Up Entertainment Network, like Campbell Jones Meet the Monsters, the IP Squad, Punch Up Plays, Material Components. There's so much stuff there.
There's a lot of stuff there. We have pretty much daily updates on there. So,
which some would say is too much. And to you, I say, pshaw.
Never. We want to have no lives.
But while you're there, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comments below just your overall thoughts on Shadows of the Empire. Did it affect you as a child? Do you have any intention now, if you're a newer Star Wars fan, to go check it out? If so, let us know what you thought, because I'd be curious to get like some younger millennial or Gen Z's take on Shadows of the Empire just as an artifact culturally. That would be fascinating to me.
Indeed. But I think that's going to do it, Gergani.
I think so, because, as always, I have been Mike Gergoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And remember, may the panel be with you.